Hello, and welcome to this screencast from Easy Peasy Photoshop Tutorials. Today we want to talk about Photoshop file formats. File formats is an interesting subject. All applications have their native formats, and Photoshop is no exception. However, Photoshop had the need to incorporate many different types of digital image formats over the years. Within the different formats, you could write a history in Photoshop with the many plot terms when Photoshop needed to be incorporated in the various digital imaging workflows. If you're just getting started, do not worry about the many different formats. You'll actually be working with just a few. If you get into more of a professional workflows later on, or if you're already in there, you know that about the different formats that you work with. Well, let's go ahead and do a file open. As you can see, here is the shortcut command, keyboard command in Macintosh. If you look in the same thing on your PC, you'll find the same type of shortcut, different keystrokes, but be similar. Let's go ahead and do the open command, and I'm in a folder called tutorial_ps, and I have a lot of images in here, and you can see that every one of them has a extension here, a dot, and then 3 letters after that, .jpg or .tif or .psd, and these tell you what type of formats they are. Whenever you save them, they'll have that extension. If we look here and we see at the all readable formats, and we have a whole list of what Photoshop can read and open up. And again, when I alluded to that history, when you look at many of these formats and you look at the history, you'll find out that some of them are fairly new and some of them are pretty old. For example, Camera Raw up here at the top, it is really a newer format, probably within the last 10 years. Photoshop has been its own format that the Photoshop application saves in. It's been there for a long time. BMP stands for bitmap. That's an old one. Cineon is a file format that comes from the motion picture industry. And yes, there are times when you will bring in frames from motion picture workshops and digital frames and work on those frames. For example, if there's a physical tear in a couple frames, you can actually work on those in a digital way after you scan them in. CompuServe GIF, that's another older format that's been around for a while, towards the beginning of the internet. And this file format you'll see a lot when you work on web pages. A lot of images are in the GIF format. Photoshop EPS, this file format actually comes from the prepress industry, and EPS stands for Encapsulated PostScript, and it has special functions that work within the prepress and printing industry. We go on, you have film strip, ICO. This ICO, this Windows icon, is really that little icon that you see up in the upper window of a browser window. IFF format, JPEG, this is something that you'll see quite often, and most images that you have on digital cameras, and if they're not RAW, they come out in a JPEG format. JPEG allows you to do quite a bit of with the image in terms of compression, and you can have a very high quality compression or a low quality compression. And as we go throughout here, you can see here's a Photoshop 2.0. This was an earlier Photoshop file format. Here's a Photoshop RAW. It's another one, earlier one. Here's another one, a PNG format. Again, this was from a long time ago. You'll see some PNGs in internet and web-based imaging. Also, here's another one that's interesting, Cytex CT. That's another pre-press format. You won't see it out there in the wild too much, but if you're in a pre-press environment, you certainly will. Targa is another old format that I haven't seen in a long time, but at one time it was one of the most common file formats years and years ago. And you can look through here now. We'll stop here at the TIFF. The TIFF format has become almost a standard and in a lot of contexts, and it is the standard in the archival community. Whenever they want to save digital files, they will save it in the TIFF format. So those are the file formats that Photoshop can open up. If we click out of that, as you can see, I have quite a few images here. We can see the preview of that file and go ahead and open it up, and we'll reduce it like that. That's just some plants that you know, it's a JPEG file, and those are the file formats that you can see. Now if you wanted to save a file in a different format, you can do that in Photoshop. So we just opened up a JPEG file, and I can bring this in here. Go ahead and close those a little bit, and again I have all this list of formats that I can change it to. So even though I open up a JPEG format, I can now save that as a TIFF format. As you can see up here, instead of JPEG it changed to TIFF, and I could go ahead and save that, and it brings up a whole bunch of options as you save a file. And this is pretty much the default for a TIFF. In TIFF you can use image compression. Usually people don't whenever they save in TIFF because they like it to have no compression. They do have this LZW compression, which is a lossless compression, so you can use that. It will reduce the file size. On these right here, I pretty much leave on the default settings. And if you click OK, then that's what you have. So you can open up files, you can save files depending upon what you need. Now, one of the things that you'll notice that Photoshop does not save files in all the formats that it can open. So if you have a special situation, you may need a special graphics converter application. There are applications out there that have even more ability in order to open up more types of files and save those types of files. So at this time, what you want to do is open up different files and formats and see what they are, play around with them. I think the three main file formats that most people are going to work in are JPEG, TIFF, and probably the Photoshop format. If you get into web, you'll start saving some GIFs and some PNGs, and you'll need to look at some information on those types of files and what you can do with them. They have some advantages and disadvantages. But that's it for this little tutorial on file formats. We'll see you next time, and take it easy.